Full disclosure, I filmed this video last week, and somehow I have no audio for it. So, time to film it again. So before you say it, this isn't clickbait. This is actually a genuine PC list that I put together for you because I love you. A few things I want to say first, that yes, you could build a PC with older parts that could potentially be more powerful, but since this is 2018 and the last generation for motherboards has been phased out, I want to do everything up to spec with brand new parts. That also being said, crypto miners have made this incredibly difficult. But this would actually be a good time to start because crypto mining is going down and some of the parts are starting to become a little more reasonably priced. So, if you want to build something entry-level that you could definitely, by all means, upgrade in the near future when graphics cards plummet in price, then this is a good video to watch. So let's begin. First off, I think it's important to talk about the CPU. Now, CPUs are not as important as some people think when it comes to gaming. Some people think that you need like an i7 or a high-scale i5, but this isn't true. The games, as of now, don't really take on that much. Older CPUs, yes, will be taxed a little bit more than newer CPUs, because newer CPUs tend to be faster for what they do. That being said, if you ever watch any of my videos, you'll know that I'm a big fan of AMD's Ryzen series. Well, to have the very slim budget that I've put together, I had to add the Intel Pentium G series. Usually when you think Pentium, you think of garbage town when it comes to processing, but some of the newest Pentium processors are actually, in fact, dual core with hyper-threading, which is pretty impressive at 3.5 gigahertz. A dual core isn't amazing, but it will, like I said, be good enough. Not too many games so far require a quad core. Especially when I remind you that this is a budget computer. So if you're planning to kill it in the gaming, high-end gaming arena, then you're expecting a lot from $372. So this is 7th generation Kaby Lake processing, so it's pretty good for the price of $72.95. So with that processor, you need the right type of motherboard to go along with it. That being said, the GIGABYTE Micro ATX motherboard that I put here, the GA-H11-0M-A LGA 1151. Why do they make these so uninteresting? I don't know, but anyway, it's a DDR4 motherboard, which makes the price go up a little bit, but since DDR3 is left behind in the past, DDR4 is where it's going. So while it is a little more pricey, this is what you need when it comes to upgradability. That being said, it has 2 DDR4 RAM slots. Again, 2 isn't amazing, but yeah, you can still work with this. So those 2 RAM slots will support up to 32 gigabytes of RAM, which is a little absurd when it comes to budget PCs. So you don't need to worry about that. But in the future, you could pop 2 16s in there and then get 32, just so you know. It offers everything else that you would expect with a motherboard, especially a PCIe slot, which you'll need for the graphics card, which, this is where things get interesting. All the other stuff is relative. So in the first video, I suggested the GT 1030, which is meh when it comes to gaming. On the budget side, 96 bucks, 80 bucks, 70 bucks, whatever you can find it for, it's okay. But since I did a little more digging, I found the ASUS Radeon of RX 550. Turns out it's usually around the same price as the 1030, but typically offers a much better performance, except when it comes to OpenGL games, which NVIDIA kind of crushes it at. However, the Radeon graphics cards are built for DirectX 12 titles, so you will do much better with that. For the same price and better performance, I have to suggest the ASUS Radeon. When I say better performance, that's typically. Sometimes there's random titles that the 1030 will perform slightly better at, but generally speaking, the Radeon RX 550 is a better card. I can't list every game that you might want to play on it. Look up videos, just type in the name of the game that you're most interested in, and then add the RX 550 afterward, and pretty much everyone has a video on some game being played with this card. But on average, it seems that you can play pretty much every title, at least on respectable settings. Now, that being said, you're going to want to upgrade this card eventually. But this is by all means a great start. You'll be able to play just about anything at playable settings, at least. To power it, it's real simple. EVGA 400 watt power supply, 80 plus gold. You want quality. You don't want to skimp too much on the amount of power it can give. Now, prices on power supplies vary, not by much. I mean, it was like a $10 difference between the 400 watt and the 500 watt. To save a little bit, I dropped down to the 400 watt because you could still upgrade a little bit from there, but honestly, don't go too much lower than this. It'll be a pain to replace that later. You could, but this is just the one I recommend for $34.99. It's not a bad deal. Less interesting also is the Western Digital Blue 1 terabyte SATA 6 gigabyte left. Pretty much every build I put together, I put this hard drive in there. Because one, it's a fast hard drive for not being SSD, and it's not a bad price. It's $49, so it's almost always around $50. You can go down to 500 gigs if you want to shave off $20 at best. That's half of the hard drive, really. So it's up to you. More and more things are taking. There's some games out there that take 50 gigs of space. So if you want to shave off a little extra money and bring it down a little bit in price, go ahead. After that, also another thing that is really pricey right now is the RAM for this build. I found this Ballistic Sports LT 8GB kit, that's two 4 gig cards put together, to be one of the best prices I could find right now for an actually really fast RAM card. If you wanted to shave $30 off, you could go down to 4. But I do not recommend that. I think 8 gigabytes is where you want to be for RAM when it comes to gaming. 4 you can get by, but it will greatly improve if you have 8, especially when you're already dealing with a pretty low profile graphics card. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Where are you going to put all these parts? Pretty much anything that's around $20. Right now, that would be the ROSEWILL Micro ATX Mini Tower. It's not a great case, but at 25 bucks, what do you expect? But yeah, pretty much anything will do for this. I mean, if you wanted to not do that, you could just get some wood and some screws, and you could just recycle an old computer case that you have laying around that's from, like, I don't know, early 2000s or something, if you really had to, but you might just want to get a new case. So all total, that brings it up to, $422. Well, I may have cheated just a little bit. If you apply for the Amazon Rewards Visa card, they shave $50 off your grand total, bringing you down to $372.32. Okay, so if that makes you mad, you can do the things I suggested for shaving off the price. If you really want this computer, you could go down to 4 gigs of RAM for now, if you absolutely must have that budget. And if you go down to 500 gigs, you could shave off another $20. So if you have $50 off, that replaces where the gift card would have helped you out. Both of these are kind of easy fixes for later. Say you need to absolutely build a computer today for $372. Well, you could, if you don't want to get an Amazon credit card, that's fine. Just cut back on those other things. I really looked around for other prices for things and couldn't find better deals on Amazon than that. This was the best I could find of all the things without actually skimping on quality. But really, it wouldn't be that terrible if you had to. Just keep in mind, upgrade the RAM as soon as possible. I feel that's the most important thing that you'd have to upgrade. The graphics card will be decent enough for a little while. So that's it for today's video. I hope you liked it. I hope it was helpful. Leave a like if you liked it. Remember, all the parts that I have mentioned will be listed in the link below for you to get while you can. Now, the graphics cards, keep in mind, will typically the out of stock, the ones that are at a good price. You can buy it anyway, and they will just ship it to you once it comes into stock, which is fairly often. You'd be surprised. But it's more or less get it at the price that it's listed for while you can, because it's kind of hard to beat. These prices are always changing. So what do you think of these PC build guides? Do you want me to make more? I was playing around with the idea of making one from a DDR3 perspective, where you just want raw power from older parts that aren't too old, just last gen, just a couple years, with the power to supersede anything else. If you want to see that video, let me know. Other than that, I've got some work to do, so I'm gonna get to that. I'll be seeing you guys later.